I want to begin this morning by reflecting on a powerful concept that comes to us from emotional intelligence researcher and author Brené Brown. The concept is true belonging. True belonging, she says, is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. To this she adds, belonging so fully to yourself that you are willing to stand alone in the wilderness, an untamed, unpredictable place of solitude and searching. It is a space that is as dangerous as it is breathtaking, a place as sought after as it is feared. Put these two quotes together, and here's what we have. True belonging is about forming a certain kind of relationship with yourself, and this relationship supports you in doing something that is incredibly difficult, but incredibly important, separating from the crowd so you can stand alone in the wilderness of your own depths, and you discover what is there, and you come back to the world changed so that the relationships you form with others are authentic. No masks, nothing fake. This is what I want to talk about today, harnessing the power of true belonging for the work of love and justice, getting to the world that Taryn wants us to live in, wants to meet us in. And it starts with separating from the crowd. And the word crowd is not meant to be taken literally as if I'm talking about a group of people over there or surrounding us. It's more a symbol of all the voices in your life that have pressured you with expectations to be good. And if you do not conform, you will lose love. All these voices of parents and teachers and peers telling women, telling men, telling all of us how we must be in order to fit in. All the voices of the talking heads on screens of some kind of our society and culture, layer upon layer upon layer. And underneath all of those layers is fear. Fear anchors them. Fear of making a mistake. Fear of disappointing others. Fear of failure. Fear of success. Let's name this crowd perfectionism. Perfectionism. Say that word with me. Perfectionism. Perfectionism wants us to fit in, be good in all the ways we need to be, and that is when we deserve to belong. Perfectionism tells us that it is our ticket to happiness. It has been telling that to you. It has been telling that to me all our lives. We don't believe a word of it, and we believe it completely. Isn't that right? We don't believe a word of it. We believe in it completely. At least we definitely act as if we believe it. To fit in, we try to hide our shortcomings from others, and as a result, we feel fake. We feel hollow. We feel inauthentic. Some shortcomings feel so embarrassing to us that to fit in, we try to hide them from ourselves. But they always slip out. And that's when the shame tortures us, and then we redouble our efforts to be pure. We read this book, we go to that training, we are more careful with our language, we donate to some cause, and we think that this time is going to do the trick. We think that this time is going to be the charm. We think that the super embarrassing thing has been permanently banished from our lives. But it has not. It's still there. The crowd insists on purity, but the soft animal of our body cannot comply. We fail every time to fit in. And we're stressed out. We're paralyzed. We're exhausted. You know, I'm taking that phrase from a Mary Oliver poem, right? Soft animal of our body. Yeah, some of you may know that poem. Soft animal of our body. To me, the imagery suggests innocence, as well as independence from what our conscious, rational minds might want. The soft animal of our bodies are what they are because from before our minds develop the capacity to use words or to reason, we have been conditioned to take on certain biases, to pay attention to some things and to ignore other things, to have certain feelings, to have certain attitudes, to have certain assumptions. And sometimes we can see this literally, the truth of this verified literally in the behavior of young children. Share an old poem, Rite of Passage, captures the militarism of boys. As the guests arrive at our son's party, they gather in the living room. Short men in first grade with smooth jaws and chins, hands in pockets. They stand around jostling, jockeying for place, small fights, breaking out and calming. My son, freckles like specks of nutmeg on his cheeks, chest narrow as the balsa keel of a model boat, long hands cool and thin as the day they guided him out of me, speaks up as a host for the sake of the group. We could easily kill a 2-year-old, he says in his clear voice. There it is. The soft animal body of these boys has been formed in a patriarchal culture that affirms violence. And perhaps there is a genetic factor here as well. The crowd insists on perfection, but whether by nature or nurture, one or the other or both, the ism of militarism is there in boys and men, whether we want it or not. Or what about a different ism? We see it in white and black children when they are given a choice of which doll to pick. The white child doesn't pick the black doll because she says it's bad. Why bad? The white child goes on to say something that she probably would never admit to later on as an adult, because the doll is black. That white child's got an ism in her. That ism is going to be in her for life. She didn't put it there. She didn't give birth to herself. She didn't choose the social and cultural influences that put it into her. She doesn't have the power. None of us have the power for that, including the black child who looks at the exact same black doll and says the exact same thing. The ism of racism is in us, and we didn't put it there. There it is. We are not pure, nor are our feelings. UUCA member Nina West tells of a time years ago when she lived in Nashville in a mixed-race neighborhood that had not yet been regentrified. During that time, she says, I attended Tennessee State University. I was the minority as a white person attending a predominantly black college, and at the time I was told by white people that it was dangerous for me to go there, that I was in danger. I even had one white person, a coworker at my part-time job, tell me that if I was going to attend school there, I needed to carry a gun because of the crime in that part of town. Nina goes on to say, I did not carry a gun. I did not experience any problem being in that neighborhood, nor on the campus of Tennessee State. Now, no one can feel good about crime or the threat of crime. And I know what I'm talking about because just a short while ago, my home was burglarized and a lot of stuff got stolen, and I feel violated to the extreme. Have you been there? Have you experienced that? I still got the stuff on my door that they try to dust for fingerprints, and that stuff's never going to come off. I see it every day. Every day I walk up to my door and I'm wondering, oh my God, is my door going to be busted like that time I came home one day? Is it going to be like that? I understand, but Nina's story provokes us to wonder when her friends had all the strong feelings they had about crime at Tennessee State University and how she needed to protect herself, to what degree were these feelings inflamed and distorted by the isms swimming around in their hearts? You have to ask this. You have to. When you know that there are isms in us, and we didn't put them there, but they are there anyway, which means we are not and never can be pure, you got to ask. Militarism, racism, sexism, ableism, classism, misogyny, transphobia, homophobia, fat phobia, xenophobia. There they are, these isms. And can we deal with them in ways that don't end with us stressed out, paralyzed, or exhausted? And as Brene Brown would say, just stand in this wilderness. Stand there. This wilderness which is dangerous and untamed and unpredictable. And it is you. Stand in it. Brave space. Just do it. Let the perfectionism of the crowd go. Let go. Embrace your impurity, which is your authenticity. Allow for true belonging in this community that wants to be a brave space of transformation. Soften the defensiveness so we can strengthen the work for justice. I can't hear you. Are you with me? I thought that last line was pretty good. I mean, come on, guys. In some ways, this is activist Courtney Martin. Speaking of the ism of racism, but it could be about any ism, she says, it is a frightening reality to reckon with, to stand in the wilderness. It's a frightening reality to reckon with. But in another sense, it is freeing. If there is no chance of escaping my internal racism, then I don't have to work so darn hard all the time to prove just how not racist I am. Instead, I can spend energy doing things that are much more liberating, particularly building up my resilience around confronting my own isms, my racism when it surfaces, and building relationships with people who will call me out on my racism and support me in confronting it. We just have to stop allowing ourselves to feel shocked and ashamed when an ism slips out. Because it's going to slip out, because they're in there. You didn't put them there, it's there. They're going to slip out. It's such a waste of emotional energy and a prime cause of fragility. We don't have to resort to defensiveness. We don't have to go, what? Me? Racism? Sexism? Classism? Never! Give me a break. Being good or bad is not relevant. Being good or bad is not relevant. What is relevant is learning all we can about the people we have been trained all our lives to be insensitive towards and ignorant about. What is relevant is listening. What is relevant is making amends when an ism slips out, as it so often will, and if we are lucky enough to be called upon it. What is relevant is doing our work to make the world a better place for women, for people of color, for immigrants, for LGBT people, for people who are disabled, for all of these and others that the status quo oppresses and makes no room for. UUCA member Nancy Bartlett says, during town hall meetings prior to our vote to adopt our Aramac resolution back in May of 2016, I heard folks several times express fear that they would be called out and corrected for using certain language or terms. They said that UUCA was a place they came to feel safe and calm and not to be policed. Nancy goes on to say, I expressed my surprise, saying something like, do you really feel that way? Because I count on this community to tell me if I am using hurtful or, God forbid, racist terms. I want to know. I want to learn. I do not want to be hurting or insulting to other people, and I count on you to help me. And then Nancy says, Why would we expect folks to tell us about the spinach in between our teeth or the fly that is open? But not to tell us about our behavior or our language when it is damaging. This is not just about fitting in. This is true belonging. That is what that looks like. I count on you to help me. I want to know. I want to learn. Militarism, racism, sexism, ableism, classism, misogyny, transphobia, homophobia, fatphobia, xenophobia, all these isms and more isms which are in us. We did not choose them. They are just there. We stand in the wilderness of that. We must stop struggling and accept with humility that we did not create ourselves, with humility and compassion for ourselves. No one loses love when they are vulnerable and open about their authentic self, which is impure, not perfect, but it is you. And we need to show up to each other. Everyone in this room is worthy. We need to show up to each other. I want to know. I want to learn. This is what makes for friendships that change this world. This, true belonging. Amen.